And recording.
We're recording. It's amazing. Once again.
Yes. Welcome to SheKings for our 11th episode. And this is
Yes.
the second one in our Letting Go series. So we're glad you guys would join us.
Yes. This week we are talking about letting go of things that showed up that you did not want.
Yes.
Yes. For example, what types of Allie and I, and we weren't joking. We don't think that any disease in the body is funny. But Allie and I discussed that surprise that we sometimes get of an STD, for example.
Yes, or a UTI or something
Or
like
UTI,
that.
absolutely. And just, again, any disease in the body. That's one of those things that it can throw you right off. And, we'll get into it, but how do you let go of something that's not letting go of you, right? What other types of things do we have to let go of because they've showed up and we don't want them?
Oh, man. A job that we didn't want, a relationship that didn't match what we had in our head, a boss, any type of relationship, anything physical, a move.
Yeah, I like the boss, not the boss, but the job and the relationship, because those are things that we ask for. And then we get them, we're like, oh, so that showed up, but that's not exactly what I was asking for. I wanted you to have it be a little bit more money, a little bit more engaging, a little bit more something, not this. But that's what showed up. And
so it's just things that we were talking about yesterday, you and I, about how they're everything is just a yes, right? So the universe, there is no no's in the universe. So I know last week we talked about getting the no's in our lives and how to face that, how to handle that, how to work through that. And we got some awesome feedback. So thanks guys for interacting. But truly everything is a yes. So how it works with frequencies is the universe will match your frequencies. That's it. So when you're kicking out a frequency of anger or frustration, and then something doesn't show up, well, know that the universe is matching that frequency of anger and frustration. So it's literally saying yes, you are angry, I hear you, and so here's something to support that anger. So literally everything, there are no no's, there's only yeses in the universe. So when something shows up in our lives that we weren't expecting, then that's just an awesome time to sit back and just say, okay, where am I at? What frequency am I sending out there that invited this in? We laugh about I do laugh about the STDs, and but everything physical is your body's way of talking to you. It's saying that there is an imbalance in your body energetically, emotionally first, and then that creates the perfect breeding ground for something physical to show up. So yeah, it might be a yes, but how awesome is that yes to be like, oh, let me get my mind straight. Let me get my emotion straight. Like that's a beautiful yes.
And this is triggering for a lot of people, because especially when you're dealing with disease in the body. And it's interesting. There is a book called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. And I've probably brought it up before on our podcast, but it's so awesome because when you're going through something in your body, something physical is happening, you can actually look it up. And so someone in my life had some stomach issues, and I was like, oh, well, let's look at what that means. And it's like, afraid of new things and fear of the unknown. And this person has just stepped into a whole new part of her life. And so, yeah, it makes absolute perfect sense. Now, what was the stomach issue? It's a stomach bug. Right? It's a stomach bug, but no one else in her family is dealing with stomach bug. So everybody is sitting around, eating the same things, doing the same things, hugs, kisses, family things, but only this person is dealing with this virus that's taking over her gastrointestinal tract.
Yeah.
That is,
I think that's awesome.
the energy creates the environment for the things that happen in our
Yeah.
bodies.
Yeah. And
So go ahead.
this might have to be a totally separate show. But
Yeah.
as far as the physical stuff, when you get something you don't want, and it has to do with something like a cold or a stomach bug or strep throat or an STD, and it's so easy to blame, right? That person gave it to me, or I caught it from this person.
Oh, yeah.
Understanding that your body energetically, frequency wise, everything has to match that frequency to invite it in. If it
Absolutely.
doesn't, then you can't, it's not a match. You won't get the cold that's going around unless your immune system is weak, and immune system is connected to emotions, energy being leaked out. So yeah, that might have to be a whole separate show on the physical body.
I think so. I think so. Again, because, you know, people get really upset, and it's understandable, because it's not a light thing if you get a cancer diagnosis.
Mhm.
It's not a light thing if you, you know, get any sort of diagnosis that you're not wanting.
Right.
Right, when you don't want this in your life, and it comes to you, and it's so overwhelming. And I think that kind of, we should talk about physical issues in particular,
Yeah.
but I think just in general, with this idea of things showing up that you don't want to show up, um, it happens to all of us. It
Yeah.
happens to every single one of us, that something comes and you're like, really? Are you kidding me right now? I got a message, an email one night, and it was like, your credit score just dropped 100 points. Like, just 100 points. And I'm like, what? Like, what happened? And I was just like, I was racking my brain, like, what could it be? Like, what is going on? And then when I realized what it was, I was like, I bet you it's this thing. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. I shot up in my bed. I logged on, got my credit report, and I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what it is. And then my mind started going a million miles an hour. And, part of it is that I'm like, shit, my credit is finally like, okay. And I am interested in moving back to the States. And so it matters to me again. And so I was like, fuck, fuck, fuck. How could I have made this mistake? And I use this as an example. And, Allie and I were talking about this. Everything that we talk about, just link it back to what's going on with you, right? Because this is credit report. It could be a diagnosis. It could be, once you get the thing that you don't want, here's what happens. So for me and for many, the mind went crazy. It went absolutely crazy. I freaked out. Obviously it's 4 o'clock in the morning. So I had to get up, walk to my office and get my computer. I went, I got my computer, confirmed that the thing I thought it was is what it was. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I made a huge mistake. I think I made a big mistake. But here's the next thing. Then I turned on the lights in my bedroom, woke my husband up. And I was like, oh my God, I made a huge mistake. And he was like, babe, turn off the fucking lights right now. Turn off the lights, turn off the lights. And I'm like, no, I need you right now. I need your support. Can't you see that I'm troubled? I'm like, we can't move to America anymore, right? So I go though, my mind goes the whole way, right?
Right.
I swear it was probably 15 minutes where it
Yeah.
went the whole alley.
Right. You were like, I'm never coming into the States again because of this.
I will never step foot in this. People can't be trusted. Everything is bad. Meditation. Who's meditation? Energy, frequency. Hey, fuck your energy, fuck your frequency, fuck your meditation. Okay. fuck, all of those things. Okay. How about that? So it's, you know, it's crazy to hear people's feedback. So whether they like the show and say, you know, hey, you know, what you guys talk about is great and awesome, or they don't, and they're like, first of all, you guys are ridiculous, whatever.
Thank you.
You're absolutely welcome. We try to be as ridiculous as we can be. But whether you love us or you hate us, here's what's true about me and Allie. We go through it. You know, we don't talk about these things from a place of not having experienced it. We talk about it from a place of having gone through it and really worked through it. You know, that was 15 minutes of my life, and I was able to, you know, open my mouth and breathe, which if you follow me at all, you know, that's my number one way to quiet the mind and relax the body. I was able to open my mouth and breathe, get myself back to sleep, and deal with this and, you know, see the possibilities in the situation, figure out, okay, well, what's going on? Let me take care of it. But I mean, there was a time in my life where that could just throw me off for, you know, a month, a year. We wouldn't move back to the States. Right? Like just fuck it all. And like a time in my life where I would not have even pulled up my credit report. I would have just like, I'm going to bury my head in the sand. Like everything is terrible. Everything is bad. It's all over. Right. As if I had just been told like, you know, it's all over. Like you're going to die. You're dying. This is my diagnosis for you. You're dying for whatever reason. I would have taken in that news like that. So I just want to just set the context for the fact that as we talk about letting go of the things that come to you that you don't want, things have and continue to come to these two very enlightened beings, Erica and Allie, and we have to let them go. And so that's just context. Do you have something, Allie, that's come to you recently where you're like, motherfucker?
Like, oh, absolutely.
Like, fuck all the bullshit.
It's nice. It is nice to see, because I always come back to everything happens for you. Like it's for you. It doesn't happen to you. And so when things show up that I don't want, I had no planning for it. And I mean, and I'll have to step back and go like, what the fuck? Like what vibration am I kicking out that this shit showed up? But it is always for me. And it's for me to either advocate for myself. It's for me to take a stand. It's for me to see like, oh, this is coming up again. This is a pattern. So therefore, this is something that I'm kicking out. The coolest way to kind of figure out what that is to say, okay, what emotion came up when this thing showed up? Is it anger? Is it resentment? Is it unworthiness? Is it victim? So for me, okay, I'll sit with it and be like, okay, this is how I feel. And this is how I reacted to it. So that is a frequency that I've been kicking out, whether you are conscious of it or if it's a subconscious thing. Everything that shows up that is a yes for you matches a frequency that you've been kicking out. And so, so with me real quick, my family member is involved with a male. And he has some issues, but, you know, I always support my family and just kind of give them guidance. And he took offense to it. And he made some shit happen for me by reporting me to law enforcement, saying all these things that weren't true. And it ended up with my studio getting raided by the cops and just all this stuff happening. Right? Wow. So I'm like, oh, this is happening. Right. And a part of me was like, okay, he's hurting, he's all these things. And so it showed up in my life for a certain reason. So what is it? And it is like advocating, like knowing what my yes is and basically just saying, yeah, it's okay to love somebody, but you're out of my life. Like, I don't need to keep helping you or supporting you or whatever it is. You know, you need to work with through your stuff, however that looks like. But just setting my strong yes. Like, this is my yes. And then, and I don't like to use the word boundaries, so it's the same thing, but it's my yes.
Yes.
and to not be like, well, you know, oh, he means well, or whatever it is. It's like,
Right.
no, that's great. He can mean well somewhere else.
You're right.
Like,
Far, far
this
away.
is far the fuck away. And so yeah, and that, I mean, that is recent. I'm still dealing with some of the stuff connected to it for my business. But
That's fucking huge. That's a
yeah,
big deal. And what
it is.
was your immediate response to having something show up that you were like, actually,
Yeah.
no, thank you.
Um, I was like, I instantly, everybody I go to who's energy worker, like a shaman, they always just go, you in your past lives or the lives that you're living now, you're involved in some dark magic. And I'm like, I get that. I'll own that.
Because immediately you're like, where's
Immediately,
my
I was like, yes, where's my wand? Where's my, where's my spells? What the fuck? Where's my
right,
magic? Because I need to do some
right,
damage to this
right.
person instantly. Like, I need to hurt this person
So
instantly. Yeah.
yes, absolutely. So for
Yeah.
you, you got something that you didn't want. And so
Yeah.
you immediately went to, in my coaching arena, it's called level 2, right? So you immediately went to fight. Like,
Yes.
you want to fight?
I
Let's fight,
will.
right?
Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, I'm going to
Absolutely.
ruin your life.
And so my typical response, and I, as a recovering lawyer, I thought I was a level 2 person. My energy, when things come to me that I don't want, I go to level 1, right? And so that is like, woe is me, victim. How could this happen? Taken advantage of. Like, that is my immediate like go-to response. And then it may become, level 2 fight or whatever it is. But that's my go-to response. And I think you guys who are listening, ask yourself, when something shows up that you don't want in your world, you're going to observe that the mind is going to go absolutely batshit fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That's what happens. And you start to go into worry mode and fix mode and whatever. But is it at a level 1 space of victimhood? Is it at a level 2 space of fight, of
What's a
anger,
level
of
3?
defend? Level 3 is interesting. So level 1 and level 2 are catabolic energy. So that's the energy that it just drains the fuck out of you, right? So
Okay.
you'll think back to that situation that you were just in. I think back to the one that woke me up the other night, and you're tired. You're like you drain yourself. It takes everything you have, because automatically that's fight or flight, right?
Yeah.
And so that everything, all of the hormones kick out, and you're like, let's go, or let's hide, whatever it is.
Right.
And level 3 is interesting. So that's when you're starting to get into anabolic energy. So that's the energy that builds you up, that makes you feel good. And so that's where you move into a place where it's at least 51% anabolic buildup energy, but it's still a good amount of catabolic energy. And at level 3, you say, okay, everything motherfucking sucks. Everything's bad and everyone sucks and I suck, or whatever it is you think, whatever that your mind goes.
Right.
But I've got to get shit done. So let me take care of it. So even though you suck, or even though I can't seem to get my shit together, or even though whatever it is, I still need to, get through life. And so I'm going to figure out a way through this situation. So you can see that it's at least going forward. It's not just like fight, or go cry, in a dark room. So you're at least moving.
Which sounds nice.
Absolutely. So now we know what happens when you get some news, some information and experience that you don't want.
Right.
How do we let it go?
Yeah. I'm okay. So with mine, in the moment it was happening, I found a place of peace, because it's just like, I'm really good at, it's happening. So it's supposed to be happening. If it wasn't, then it wouldn't be. So I'm really good at shifting into that space of just acceptance. Like, I'm not going to fight it, right? It's happening. So then after kind of the chaos has died down and I'm able to sit with it, then I go to that level 2, like, this motherfucker
Right.
is
Right.
about to answer, right? Finding for me to keep shifting out of that, right? Because I know it's my frequency, whatever it was. And to this point, I mean, you and I have talked about this. Like, I don't know exactly why I called this in to my life. And we have, you know, we have little different reasons, and who knows what it is. Why I called it in. So my favorite thing on letting it go is just finding a coherence, right? A coherence between the mind, the brain, and the heart, because I just find that suffering comes from when the mind just goes and goes and goes with the stories. And once the stories start, it's so hard to let go, because the stories are literally anchoring you to the very thing that you're stressed about, that you're sad about, that you're devastated about, that you're angry about. And so finding that coherence between the brain and the heart, it's like, for me, it's like your mouth breathing that calms
Yep.
you. That allows me to enter a space of just of acceptance. Like, this is what we're doing. So coherence for me is to bring your mind and your heart into coherence is really slow breathing. So inhaling in for 5 seconds, nice and slow, hold the breath at the top, exhale out for 5 seconds, and then focus on your heart center, and then feel the feeling of compassion, gratitude, joy, or love. And the
Yes.
cool thing about those, wherever you can find it, right? And so obviously you have to look outside of the event that's happening to something else that you've
Yep.
experienced or that you're excited to experience, to shift you.
Yep.
And we won't get into the whole body thing too much, but when you do this, and there's an institute called the Heart Math Institute, they track people's brains and hearts when this type of breathing and feeling, and you literally start to heal your cells. You
Yeah.
go from fight or flight to like this crazy relax where your cells relax. It boosts up your immune system. Like, it's so amazing when the heart and the mind or the brain are in coherence. So I've been practicing that, and that helps me to let it go, because I
Yeah.
know I
That's
can't
awesome.
change it. Letting it go doesn't mean just lying down and taking it, right? I got an attorney. Like, I'm not saying, you know, it happened, so don't do anything about it. When we say let it go, it literally means in that moment it's happening, right? If you have a disease in your body, you have it. So don't fight against the fact that you have it. But you can still do things to improve your health, right? Change your lifestyle, whatever it is that you do. So yeah, I got an attorney. I kept moving forward with this whole process. You know, what do I need to do next? What do I need to do next? And so even though I'm still working through it, I'm not hung up on the idea of this should have never happened. Like, why me?
Yes.
Because it did,
Yes.
right? It did happen.
Yes.
So why argue with reality, right? Because that's where the suffering
Absolutely.
is. So that's how I let mine go, is just that constant reassurance. It happened. It was supposed to happen. So then now how am I going to show up for the rest of it? How am I going to show up? Am I going to show up
Yes.
as a victim? Am I going to show up as strong? Am I going to show up as a badass? Am I going to show up as advocating for myself? So you
Yep.
get to pick and choose how you show up when things show up. And
Yes.
that's the real power that we have. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Um, I think that, you know, at bottom, what you're talking about is getting yourself calm and figuring out how it is that you get calm. You do your breathing. I do my breathing, and these are ways just to tie ourselves to our bodies and to let ourselves relax. So it gets you out of the mind, into the body, and kind of shuts down all of that fight or flight energy. And then the next thing at bottom you're saying is that you got to find the opportunity in this situation. And you know, you skirted around it, but I think it's implied in what you said, and it's definitely something that I really recommend. If there's something that's come to you or something that's in your life that you don't want right now, and you're just holding on to it, you insist that, this is a situation, it fucking sucks. It's so terrible. It's so bad. How could she, how could he, how could it be this way? You have got to ask yourself, what am I getting out of holding on to this story? Right? And let's go all the way there with, I keep thinking about this ease because it's a big one. It's one of those things that people think that this is bigger than anything else, right? This is life or death. And if you are diagnosed with something that is not going away, with herpes, if you are diagnosed with something that can possibly be cured, but it's going to be a whole process like cancer, it's happening. The mind is going crazy. You try to get yourself to a calm place for as long as you can be, because there will be moments of panic where you're like, oh my God, you remember what happened and you're like, oh my gosh. And then you have the possibility of possibilities, of opportunity, of, like Ali said, you're not going to lay down and necessarily take it, or maybe you have to, because there's nothing that can be done about it. Mm-hmm. But the most important thing that you can do is not build a story around it. I was just diagnosed with herpes. There's nothing I can do about it. I guess I'll never have another sexual partner.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to have this life with these things involved. Well, now that I have this diagnosis, it's over. I have just found out that I have breast cancer again. And I don't want to seek treatment for it this time. It was difficult the first time, and I'm not going to do it again. And this actually happened to one of my students, one of my yoga students. Her family was in the space of story. Well, that means you're going to die. I can't believe you're doing this. Everything's doing this to us. Everything's so bad. She was in the space of opportunity. Mm-hmm. She said, I don't know how long I have left, but these are going to be good times. It's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good week. It's going to be a good month. They'll be good years. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to be fully and completely present. I'm not going to break down my body and break down my energy like I did last time. I'm going to have all the life and energy that I can possibly have. And I am going to enjoy this. And so I think it's so important for people to understand that you have a choice. And we're not disregarding that the mind is going crazy. And we're not disregarding the panic that sets in. We're not disregarding the sadness when you think about your situation, whatever it might be, this thing that showed up that you didn't want to show up. We are suggesting, and you even go to YouTube or you read some stories of people who have received these diagnoses, in the light that they have inside of them, those who decided to choose possibility, those who decided to choose joy. It really, and Ali says this all the time, people get annoyed because we make it seem simple. But as tough as it is to do it, it really is a simple choice. Mm-hmm. Are you going to choose opportunity, or are you going to choose limitation? And that's what it's all about when something shows up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure. And this same practice that we're talking about can be used with when things don't show up, like our episode last week that you wanted. It's you're connecting yourself to a story. You're not, and the minute that you connect yourself with a story, you're limiting your your possibilities. So keeping the possibilities open is letting go of the story of what is happening. So,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, having things that, you know, you didn't call in. I was a teen mom. I didn't want to get pregnant at the age of 16. But I did.
But surprise,
You know?
surprise, here's the baby. All right.
And now I have a baby. Um, so, and for some people, I mean, that comes with, if you allow it to, the same type of, along the same lines as I can't get pregnant, right? Something, the no of I can't have a baby to, oh, the yes, you're pregnant. And then with my story around it, you know, abortion was out of the question because of how I was raised. And so then, and so again, it's all stories. It's all stories. It is what we say it is. It's hard because we say it's hard. It's easy because we say it's easy. It's horrible because we say it's horrible. And it can just be, I'm pregnant because I'm pregnant. That's it. Or I'm not pregnant because I'm not pregnant.
I gotta hop in because I need you guys to process that. It is horrible because you say it's horrible.
Yeah.
There is no objective horror in anything. Your diagnosis, your life experience, anything that there's no objective horror, your credit's 100 points. Okay. So there's a random make-believe number that exists out there, and it went from that to that.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no objective horror in that. Yeah. Only the story. And I created a big story really fast. That's what the mind does. Yep. Right? A ton of thoughts flew in to match my frequency at that time, which was woe is me. So were you going to say some more about that?
No, I think that's it. I think it'll be a different show on how to access the quantum field, like how to access different possibilities, because there is nothing that's permanent. Like herpes is not permanent. Cancer is not permanent. There's things that are not permanent. And it's just accessing that field on how to access a different experience. And we can talk about that later on how to access that field. But just literally accepting what is, and then just deciding how you want to show up. And that makes how you show up is everything. Yeah.
It's crazy because a lot of people are going to be like, what the fuck did she just say?
I know.
Not permanent. But it's funny. Did you hear about John of God? So John of God, if you look him up, people, he has healed so many people, so many different things that were supposed to be permanent, you know, do with it what you will. Yeah. But did you hear that he apparently kept teen sex slaves and and then sold their babies? He sold their baby. He would get them pregnant and sell their babies, dude. It's crazy. And I'm like, John of God, what? Why? Why?
He just be okay with fucking healing people. He's like, you know what?
Right, just like literally. Yeah, he's like, I stick scalpels down people's throats and like heal them of like throat cancer. But I can't just be good. I can't just be a great man. Let me shit on it.
I have to.
By
the dark
raping
side.
Young girls.
Yeah,
exactly.
The shadow side is like, you know what? We want to play too. So
exactly.
Side,
and we also play big. We also play big.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Stop. No.
Just crazy. It's so sad. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But anyway, so here's your homework, guys. Yes. And this is your homework for last week and this week. First homework is to fight us, you know, hashtag fight us. Tell us why, tell us why we're wrong. Tell us why we're stupid. Or if this is your experience, if you've gotten something big, small, in between, medium, Allie and I believe that there's no order in size of miracles and good things or bad things. So write to us and tell us, how did you guys deal with us? You can deal with it. You can get in contact with us on our Facebook page, SheKings. You can get in contact with us on Instagram, SheKings. You can email us. What's our email address, Allie?
It is SheKings@gmail.com. Or is it the
Absolutely.
SheKings? Yeah.
Oh, well,
I
check
know.
the notes. Check the notes. We want to hear from you
Yeah.
because we know that for some people, a lot of what we're saying is new and we want this to be a seed planted. And so
Yeah.
tell us what's not making sense for you, what doesn't work for you. But if you know and you have experience with what we're saying working for you, then tell us how it worked for you. So that's homework number one. Homework number two is write down those things that you're having trouble letting go of. Just make a nice list. You know, Allie and I like lists. And write what the story is. What's your story around this and why you can't let it go?
Yeah.
And then I want you to answer this question. Once you got it down and you see it clearly, how does it serve you to hold on to the story?
Yeah.
What are you getting out of it? And here's the thing. Many of you guys will say, you know, I look at it now and it doesn't really serve me. And that's the beauty of making it conscious. But it did serve you at some point, and that's why you kept the story. Allie and I were talking about some of the ways that it serves you to hold on to the story. Keeps you protected.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel attacked or if you feel afraid.
Yeah. Makes you feel validated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It connects you to other people, right? You can tell your sad story and they can tell theirs.
Yeah.
It makes you better than other people who what were you doing? You talked about the Deadpool thing
Oh.
with you can be the best at being the worst. Go ahead, tell it.
I love Deadpool. So if you're a Deadpool fan, you'll understand. But the second one, where him and his girlfriend, or no, maybe it was the first one, I remember. But when they kept upping each other, right? So I was raised by a crack whore, and I lived at a house with 12 other siblings, and we had to share one room. And then he would go, "Oh, so you had a room, right?" and then he would do his, and she'd be like, "Oh, so you had a roof on top of your house, like covering it." Right. But it was more extreme. So yeah, we like to say, I'm listening to your story, but let me up you on one story. The universe does not see levels, right? So a hangnail, and as it rips down your finger, can be just as traumatic to the universe on a level of frequencies as a diagnosis of cancer. It's the response to the thing that the universe measures. It's not the thing. And so, yeah, that is
your response to the thing.
Yes.
Your response to the thing.
Your response to the thing. Yeah.
Another thing is people like to stay in their stories, right? So we're talking about why the stories are serving you, and you can decide whether you want to continue to have it serve you because they want to justify why things aren't going well in their lives, why they feel stuck. There could be a million other possibilities available to them, a million other things that they could be experiencing and enjoying, but you want to focus on, Allie and I want to focus on, well, but this thing showed up that I didn't want. And so you want to hold on to the story. So the story is serving you. Ask yourself how it's serving you and get honest. Well, it's really scary to try something new. It's really scary to turn inside and see myself for who I really am and try to make changes. And so I'd rather be in the story of this thing that I can't let go.
Right.
And then the last question is, do you want to continue to be served in that way?
Yeah. And something to think about on that last question is understanding that when you have that belief that's attaching you to the story, you're kicking out that same frequency. And so you're going to invite the same type of stuff into your life over and over and over again. So yeah. And when we say, do you want to be served in that way? Like, do you want the universe to serve you in that way? Because it absolutely will. It absolutely will.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so just to be clear, what Allie is saying is if you are of the space of, this thing showed up. So this tax thing, this credit thing, right? Oh, it's terrible. My finances are, in shambles now. What am I going to do? If I insist on holding on to that story, right, which is serving me because I'm afraid, it's like, whatever. If I insist on holding on to that story, I'm essentially inviting in more financial troubles and difficulties.
Yes.
That will be what I'm vibrating. My financial situation is difficult and it's scary, and I will get more in turn. They'll just send it away. But I've decided everything's fine. It's going to work out absolutely perfectly. I'm going to take the steps that are presented to me that make sense, and this will clear right up, right? So these are our options. So this might have been a long one, who knows? But hopefully we were very clear about what's going on here, because we know that if you've been holding on to it, it can be touching. So.
Right. Yeah, we look forward to hearing from you. And then our last segment in our recording is going to be how to let go of guilt.
Letting go of guilt. Absolutely. Another tough one. Tough one.
Cool.
Anyway, guys, we love you.
Yeah.
You have been listening to SheKings for peasants who don't want to live shitty lives no more. And until next time.
We'll see ya.